Yep. We
Okay.
can hear you and see you great.
All right.
Hey y'all, it's Danielle from Black Business Boom and Black Owned Nashville, and I'm honored to be joined by attorney Courtney Teasley and attorney Camila Turner, who are coming to us for our first legal hour. So I'm super excited. Like I told you guys, I've been all about how can we educate our community this year, and we're going to be talking about a very important topic today, and that is consent. And I tell y'all, my favorite show is Law and Order SVU. So I've learned some things about consent from Law and Order SVU, but I'm sure that has nothing on what we're going to learn from you all today. So I'm going to actually let Courtney take it away and tell us why she thought this was a really good topic for us to talk about, and just give us a little background on consent and what that means.
Okay. Thank you, Danielle. So y'all, I promise, and I'm coming on this because it's been popping up. And just so you know, this is Miss Camila Turner, attorney Camila Turner. She's out of Memphis. She's a badass. And so I had to bring people on here to really help y'all understand this is a real big topic. And so we're going to talk about consent, and we're going to talk about it when it comes into play with sexual offenses. I came across it because of a case I was working. And one big thing that stood out to me was the fact that Tennessee does not define consent. It's not defined. So a lot of times people feel like, oh, you don't have to give verbal consent. Verbal. No, there can be physical consent. There are different types of consent. And because it's not defined here in Tennessee, we wanted to come to you and give you some tools and give you some thought processes on if you ever happen to be in this situation, or if someone is accusing you of sexually assaulting them or doing something to them or whatnot, saying they didn't give consent or whatnot. We want to really kind of prep you. And then we want to arm people who are saying, I didn't give consent, I didn't do that. We want to arm them with the knowledge as well to understand that your consent does not have to be verbal. It can be physical cues. It can be different things that you're giving that can also be decided to have been consent when you get into the court of law. So all that to say, I'm going to first start off with attorney Camila Turner, and I'm going to let her talk about what we talked about earlier. I'll let her bring y'all in on that, and then I'll come in on the backside.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Camila Turner. I practice law in Memphis. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for almost 20 years now. But we wanted to talk about this because Courtney called me about 2 weeks ago, and she said, I have this sexual assault case and I have a question. I said, what? She says, what is consent? And I said, you know what? That's a really good question, because I've had so many sexual assault cases too, and I don't really know the definition of consent because there's so many things that come into play. But what I do know is that there are things that people can do, especially men, because it's usually men that are that we represent when it comes to sexual assault, to make sure you don't find yourself in a position where you have to need a defense lawyer, you have to go before a judge, and you have to explain why you thought it was consent. And one of the main things that I found in the cases that I've had, there have been some type of alcohol, drugs, something involved when the person is saying, oh, I had too much to drink, I couldn't consent, or I wouldn't have done this had I not been taking pills, or I wouldn't have done this had I not been high on marijuana. So one thing that I tell men, and like I said, I'm saying men because it's usually men that are accused, if a woman or a person has been drinking or doing drugs or anything like that, then you do not need to sleep with that person. Unless it's your wife or your girlfriend that you've been dating a long time, you just need to not do it. That's a way that you can alleviate having to explain why you had sex with a person that had, 10 shots of tequila, because somebody is maybe saying you should have known that she could not consent. And so part of that is just knowing the people that you choose to have sex with and being comfortable enough to have a conversation about it before it happens. So I always say, if you're not comfortable enough to talk about it, then you shouldn't be comfortable enough to do it. So I think a lot of most of the cases that I have had could have been avoided if there was some conversation, some communication between the two people. And the other context, and I know this group is largely professional and all of that, and many of you will not find yourselves in this position, but sex for money. It's illegal in Tennessee, but people do it all over the world, okay? It's only legal, I believe, in Nevada on the Bunny Ranch or somewhere like that, but it happens. I always tell men, if you are paying for sex, pay the price that is asked. Don't be trying to get no discount. You get the discount at the swap meet. You get the discount. Don't get the discount on the, can I say coochie on here? Don't get the discount. I'm sorry. I just had to go and bring it out there. All right. I'm going to pass it back to
Oh, God. Now that just made my day. But it's a great point. It's a great point. Because, I mean, it's just like with any other service. If I provide my service and I ask for a certain amount, we agree to a certain amount, and then you don't pay me that amount, I'm going to be upset. And now I'm going to be looking at who do I contact about getting my money? You know what I'm saying?
They'll go to, oh, no, you raped me.
Exactly.
You didn't get
and it's avoidable. Yep. So I'm wondering, because I've heard people that are like, at this point, it's almost like you need a permission slip, like in order to proceed with having sex with someone and avoiding being in court, And so what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that it's like so extreme? Like, and I know there are people who are watching that have, sons and daughters that are in college, going away to college, in high school, and they will learn a lot of times by having bad experiences. And so I want us to be in a position to educate these folks on the things that they should and shouldn't be doing before, they end up in a bad situation. So what are your thoughts? Like, how do you get expressed consent to make sure that you don't end up in a bad situation?
Camila, can I go first?
Yes, I was going to say that.
You already know me. Listen, I was telling her, I was like, at this point in time, that's what it's coming to. People are like, hey, y'all might get hot and heavy, and it's almost like you need to turn over with a contract, like, like, need you to sign right here, because it literally is getting there. And then, like Camila said, for men, that's the huge amount that you're going to hear from. She raped me. I mean, he raped me. So here's my thought process. Me and Camila talked about this a bit. It's not sexy, right? It's not sexy when you all got heavy in the moment, especially when you're in college and y'all are kind of moving that way. And you're like, ooh, okay, this is going here. And the guys are scared that if they, say anything, she might be like, no.
Yeah.
But I said, listen, kings, realize that what you bring to the table is valuable, okay? Women are all about having theirs, getting theirs, right? So what you're bringing to the table is valuable. You can make it sexy. Take a minute. Maybe text her. Do you want this? Put the little peen emoji with the eggplant. Do you want this? And then make her respond like, no, babe, you can't have none of this. You're going to have to tell me you want it. And then at least you have something that is there that can actually be utilized later on. I don't know, because when women give consent, they can withdraw it. That's fine. They can give consent, and initially you can be in it. And then when you get into it, you can say stop whenever. And the man should stop whenever he hears her say stop. However, sometimes women abuse their authority like anybody abuses anybody. Sometimes people just abuse their authority. Yeah. Or maybe something happened. Maybe she didn't want somebody to find out about it. Maybe she felt like this was a bad idea now. And, you know, I hate to imagine women do that and say, you know, oh, you raped me, to avoid them getting in trouble. But we know it's happened since the beginning of time. Yeah. So men, protect yourselves. Yes, I would love to have a contract, you know, from you, but I know that that's not realistic, right?
I love that idea of the text message.
Yes.
I love that. I think that is like brilliant to be like, you want this? Like, are you sure? You're like, you can even like tell me, you know, that you like, so it's
I need to hear this. So the issue in the case that I had going on was the fact that this person was sleeping, or they're saying they're sleeping, and you cannot penetrate anybody while they're asleep. And if you penetrate them while they're asleep, then guess what? That's rape.
Right.
You know, However, there's arguments about whether somebody was asleep or not. You know, were they up? Were they moaning? Were they doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G? There's so much argument about what actually occurred. But imagine having that text.
Yeah. I mean, that can definitely make or break a court case, I assume. So
like, no, sis, you text me right here, sis. Yeah. You said you wanted this or whatnot. And it doesn't mean she couldn't have withdrawn it, but that takes away the argument that no, you just went in and
did it. And I never indicated that I was interested in that way. Yeah.
And now you look like a creep. And now, you know, so
yeah.
Girl, so that's the only thing we can think of outside. Oh, and Camila brought up that she's seen some colleges. Tell them, Camila, about with those sex contracts.
Yeah.
Right. They have to actually sign to say that they are consenting to having sex on certain college campuses. There was somebody that was telling me about his daughter who was in college, and he had looked at the contract. He said, wow, you know, but it's kind of come to that. Another thing, and I always have to say, anytime I talk to people about potentially being accused of something, make sure that you ask for a lawyer if the police want to talk to you. And I know you may be saying, oh, but I'm not guilty. Oh, but I need to tell my side of the story. You have to say, I want a lawyer. You have to say that. And once you say that, they have to stop talking to you at that point. You are not going to talk yourself out of a criminal charge. You are not. So when they say anything you say can and will be used against you, that and will is real important, because it definitely will. And so a lot of times people want to tell their story, and if you're excited, you may leave things out. You may say things in the wrong sequence just because you're trying to remember everything. So it's best that you do not do it. You'll have time. Everybody in this country has a right to testify on their own behalf at a trial if it comes to that. And of course, you don't have to, but you will have a chance to tell your story at some point if it needs to be told. But always say, I want a lawyer. And that's whether you are accused of anything, whether it's drugs, you know, theft, anything you can think of, you need to say, I want a lawyer.
Exactly.
I love it. This is fantastic. You all have just given us a lot in a little bit of time. And again, these situations can be so complicated and so confusing. And especially if you're a very young person trying to understand what happened. Did you mess up? Did he mess up? Like, it's just a lot. And so having a lawyer, I think, is really important. But really now we have to educate our youth about how do we really get ahead of these type of issues? How do we avoid them? We know that, you know, a lot of our young Black men are going to go on to play sports in high school, college, professionally. It leaves you open, you know, it leaves you open to a lot of scrutiny and a lot of people who are going to be looking to do things to get money out of you. So we just have to really take this opportunity to educate folks about ways that they can be smart about still enjoy yourself. Like, nobody's telling you, you know, don't have sex, but these days you have to be very careful about it. We have these phones that are on us all the time. Record the person, pick it up, turn it on, record, take a, whatever you got to do, but be smart about it and protect yourself. And as parents, I think it's really important that we don't shy away from these conversations, but have them head, straight on to let folks know, both our daughters and sons,
Yes.
this is how you handle these situations. This is how you can avoid ending up in a situation, and I thank the Lord that, I made it through college without being assaulted, because I made a lot of questionable decisions, and so we really have to be very careful about the decisions we make as young folks as well. So I love this. This was very informational, and I think it's a topic that's not talked about enough, again, other than when we're watching Law and Order SVU.
Right.
And so but it's real life and it's happening every day. So I'm glad you guys were able to join me and have this conversation. I thank you all so much for your time. And all you got to do is look up Courtney Teasley or Camila Turner, and I'm sure they'll be willing to have a conversation with you if you have found yourself in a situation and you need a criminal attorney. So use the resources that we have for our community.
And Courtney, do we both have on motherland earrings?
Do?
We real black. Y'all real black today. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. And I just think it's amazing to have two beautiful black women that are criminal attorneys that are representing us and able to help us with these situations. So we honor and we support you guys and everything, and appreciate you so much for your time.
I appreciate you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, sis.
Absolutely.